there's so many statistics that I could just go through where it's like, oh my goodness, we're going through a crisis. And not just that, people are truly realizing that if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. It's like one of my favorite quotes is the man that is healthy wants 10,000 things, and the man that's sick only wants one thing. And I've been there. And and until you're there, you don't really understand that. But when you get there, you really realize the value and the importance of holistic health of the mind and of the body.
You are listening to Power Marketing with Kevin Lee. Kevin and his agency Did It have helped thousands of businesses win through superior marketing, as have his books, articles, speaking engagements, and the E-Marketing Association Power Marketing podcasts. Here's Kevin.
I'm pleased to be joined today by Thomas Drew, who's the co-founder of One and One, which is a health-centered platform, but he could probably explain it way better than I can, and we can combine that together with the origin story of sort of when and how did you decide that this was your mission, right? This is what you're going to start.
Yeah, no, thanks, Kevin. I'm happy to join, happy to be on. One and One, it stands for the fact that you have, and you're only given one mind and one body. And we have always seen at the company, and just personally, my business partner and I, we think that mental health and physical health shouldn't be separate. They should be together because it's your body is a connected experience. Everything starts in the mind, but to optimally achieve the right disposition within wellness and to be your best self, it's a holistic thing. And so One and One also stands for the fact that we look at that process. We look at mental health and wellness as a 1% better each day thing. And it's incremental improvement. So our platform, and we do this through a media offering, and now we're working on some technology, but our main thing is we're trying to make mental health and wellness accessible to people easily. And the demographics that we saw originally that really needed that were demographics like the BIPOC community and the men's mental health community. That's something that my business partner and I, being Black men, but also having our own mental health and wellness stories, we saw an immediate need for that. And there wasn't a lot of platforms that were creating content and solutions to help us. But dating all the way back to 2017, when my business partner and I kind of thought about the nucleus of it, the original name of the company, it's a terrible name, but the original name of the company was called Baby Fitness, and it stood for Be a Better You. But that nucleus is still kind of there. 1% better is kind of the way you get there. But the end goal of that is, how am I 1% better than the version of myself the day before, which is, how do I reach that optimal version of myself? How do I become my best self? And so in 2019, we began to focus heavily on media and content. So we have our editorial content. We have a product review engine where we review some of the best in wellness. Our editorial content engine is centered around the 7 dimensions of wellness, 4 of which are mental health based. And those 4 are intellectual wellness, emotional wellness, spiritual wellness, and social wellness. And the other 3 dimensions are physical, and there's some nutrition stuff in there, financial wellness, and environmental wellness. So not just how you are one with nature, and we know how important getting sunlight is and grounding and things like that, but it's also your environment around you. And, I am a proponent of that because my brain, how scatterbrained it is. It's like, when my room isn't clean, when things aren't like, I'm not optimized. And that's actually something I have an executive coach who's like a mental performance coach as well. And we're beginning to work on that and routines and habits. So that's what we do. And we're very, very passionate about it. I mean, I do this because I have my personal story in that. A very, very close friend of mine, when I was growing up, he was like a second father to me. He actually committed suicide when I was 8 years old. That was my first experience with mental health on the male side, and that growing up, I also was, and I had to go to, therapy as a result of that very young. And this was back in, the year 2000. And, also through that, I skipped a grade. I was very out of place. I was a nerd. I didn't fit in, all those things. I got bullied a lot. So because of that, that also thrust me into, growing up, that, depressive state, and me thinking I'm not going to fit in, and not understanding that me being special and not fitting in was a gift. Because back then, all you want to do is fit in. Right.
Right.
And, so around like 12, 13, 14, I had some very, very serious suicidal thoughts. Almost got to the point where I almost took my own life. And after that, my family, my support system, and finding things like basketball and those other things, I ended up playing college basketball. And that's kind of where the physical wellness and my love for that comes in. That's why I'm passionate about the mental health and wellness side, and parlaying into physical wellness. And as I said, I played college basketball. I'm very passionate about optimization with the body and mind. And so I just think that is something that people not only need right now, but that, people can use if it's given to them in the right way, and if it's created in a way where it understands the consumer in the right way. So that's like kind of the origin story. That's where we come from. And that's kind of what the brand means.
That's really cool. And thanks for sharing that very personal story. One of the reasons I was excited to talk to you is so many people spend so many of their waking hours at work, right? And if you're not in the right headspace at work, then you're actually not able to perform to the same level that you would be if you were in a better place. And so, I saw as I looked at your site and got introduced to you and your brand, I said to myself, well, it's not just the individuals taking ownership of their own health and getting 1% better for themselves that's going to be super important, but I sort of see it being increasingly important for companies to empower their employees to do so, right? Because it's in my best interest to provide a framework for my employees to get 1% better every day in all those facets, the 7 dimensions of wellness that you described. Mm-hmm. And I was curious whether you had been hearing that from other folks, that, it's not just the individuals who are excited about taking themselves to the next step from a wellness perspective, but also businesses acknowledging the fact that it's a win-win when that happens.
Yeah, well, businesses and some businesses understand it, and some just don't. And it's mm-hmm. really as black and white as that in my experience. But I think the smart businesses understand that it's not so much about how can I reduce burnout for someone that works for me so they can stay in the hamster wheel of what I'm doing. It's right. More so taking a look at your organizational structure and how you are doing things, how you're structuring things, and giving the employee a situation where they feel like they're fulfilled outside of work, so right. they can have the right relationship with work, if that makes sense, right?
It does.
And what that does then is it immediately impacts your bottom line positively. You're getting people showing up the right way, because one thing that I'm very big on, and with the company and just what we're trying to do, and we're doing this within our technology too, that we're trying to build, is that you are your habits, right? Like your future is your habits. Like that's how I think about it. And the majority of that is showing up, and showing up consistently, and showing up in the right way. And so if you're an employer, to me, it's like, okay, how do I make sure that the people that are working for us and with us are in a position where they're able to show up and feel good about it, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's not so much so, okay, how do we put a Band-Aid on this? It's let's go to the root of it so we don't have any more cuts that need a Band-Aid, right? Yeah. That's kind of how I think about it. But it's a serious problem. Like it's a serious thing.
And I loved the use of the word show up, right? Because it has 2 different versions of it. It's to just be there physically, like the butt is in the seat. But then there's like the real showing up, where you're there and you're engaged and you're excited to be there. And the ability for the person to get to the next step of their career is about the second version of showing up, right? Where they're engaged and they're feeling fulfilled in their work environment, that they're also feeling fulfilled in their personal environment, right? Which of course, is the other half of the person's day, right?
Right.
Is once they get home and their relationship with themselves, their relationship with their family and their significant others and their dog or whatever, right?
Mhm.
All those are important facets of the person's well-being. So I was really, pleased to hear it framed that way, right? Because a person needs to show up in life, not just show up at work.
Yeah, right. Well, everybody talks about like, okay, try this plan, do this, blah, 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 do this, this, and that. But if you don't show up, it doesn't mean anything.
Right.
So you got to nail, how do I show up consistently? Because another thing that's important is it's not, motivation is fleeting. It's about consistency, right? So, with that, again, it's like, okay, if I'm doing something and giving something, because you got to be frank, you got to be real about it. It's like we're living in an age of information where people know much more than they have before. They have access to information before. I mean, something just happened in New York City, where companies are going to have to outwardly show salary ranges now. Like everything is very transparent. So it creates this dichotomy where it's like, okay, as a business and as a company, your internal structure, your ethos, the way you do things, why your company exists, how you treat your people, that's what's gonna get the most out of who works for you, not necessarily the money. Yeah, money is important, and money is going to be important in this, macroeconomic environment. But it's more so if you as a company are able to genuinely and accurately align with the intrinsic value of the people that are working for you and support them in that way and figure out what motivates them, what demotivates them, what triggers them, what's valuable to them, and they feel like you understand that, then they're going to bring their best selves. And that's the goal for you as a company anyway. So net, you're still getting the result you want, but it's just a different way of looking at it that's more human-centered.
Absolutely. I thought it was cool that you had both physical wellness and in there, as well as financial, environmental, et cetera. But then from a content perspective, I noticed you guys had recipes on there, right? And so part of physical is the exercise and the workout, but part of it is sort of what goes in, right?
Yep.
And there have been diet fads of every particular type, some of which are, based on hard science, some of which are fuzzy science, and some of which you sort of scratch your head and say, really? Legit?
Mm-hmm.
Like grapefruit diet? Like, I don't get it, right?
Yep.
So I'm sort of curious, how you came to that point where you said, we want to include recipes, like we want to include that additional content area because we think it's important.
Yeah, well, getting where you want to go from a physical wellness standpoint, there's three main things that people try to do, or what we've seen in our data and what our experts that we have on our team talk about. There's three or four main things. You're either trying to maintain, you're either trying to lose fat, gain muscle, or gain strength, right? And usually when you gain strength, you gain muscle. And so 80% of that is nutrition, as far as, getting to where you want to go. Also, mentally, a lot of that goes to nutrition as well, because while there's all these diets and all these fads and all these things, there are underlying truths that are important for people to understand. Like, when you get up in the morning, you shouldn't have a whole bunch of donuts and spike your blood sugar. It's probably better for you to have like a high protein meal when you first get up, right? Like
Right.
these, have some water when you get up. Like that, there's certain things from the nutrition point of view that are just underlying truths that are continuously proven by science to be what is good for you. But what it really is, and we have a lot of content on mindful eating. We have a lot of content on, how you can still eat and ease in the type of foods that you like that may be guilty pleasures to you, but as long as you do it in moderation, it's not hurtful to you. A lot of it is experimenting. I've done this myself. I've tried multiple, like I've been pescatarian, I've been vegan alkaline, and I'm not even like a super like, I'm not even super big on that, but I just wanted to try a whole bunch of things, see how I felt, how my body reacted. And then the diet that I personally felt the best, I just stuck to. And for me, that diet is red meat every now and then, no dairy, except for every now and then, only having carbs before and after my workouts. Usually that's kind of when I, load the carbs, and a lot of protein, a lot of lean vegetables, lots of fruit. I try to drink, half of my body weight in ounces per day in water. And that's like my deal. Right. And, so it's like you kind of have to experiment in that, but the nutrition part is just very important. And also, like, really good recipes that are free that you can find with good instruction. That's just useful stuff, right? Like, it's just, there's so many platforms that, give valuable content and that do this stuff. And like I said, that's why accessible is so important in what we do, because we never want people to feel like they have to, give an arm and a leg for some of our expert content, some of our advice. Like, there's ways that we can monetize on the back end and do some other things, but it's important that these things are upfront and accessible to people. So, like, our recipe tool, all these things that we're doing, like, we just want people to use them, like the recipes, enjoy them. We got nutritionists and dietitians that put that stuff together, but the nutrition is very, very important, because, if you look at your brain, this is kind of how I look at it too. I kind of look at my brain as the software and I look at my body as the hardware. So food and that nourishment, it does things for your software and it does things for your hardware. And you kind of got to understand how your machine reacts and then tweak that. Like, I didn't really have a problem with dairy like 5 or 6 years ago, and now it just makes me feel bad. So I'm like, I gotta, cut it, or just at least have it in moderation. So that's why we have the nutrition piece. It's very important, and not just the physical wellness part, but the mental wellness part as well, because a lot of people, they'll be depressed or not feel good. And some of that is because they're just eating the wrong food, or they're eating food that isn't good for their body, or they haven't gotten an allergy test, or they haven't gotten a blood test to see what type of foods spike their blood sugar or annoy them or like whatever. So all those things go into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree on that. As far as from the business perspective, you have elements that if a person looked at your business, they'd say, oh, so they're a content publisher, right? But it seems like you're evolving towards sort of a multi-revenue stool, right? Multiple revenue legs of the stool, right? And so I'd love to hear more about sort of what the vision is there, and to the extent that, is it going to be apps that help people keep on track? Is it going to be any one-on-one coaching? Is it going to be any group support? What's your vision for the future on it?
Yeah, so I've always loved the Nerd Wallet model for a lot of reasons. I loved how they came in as a resource for people. I loved how they took advantage of an affiliate model in a way that met people within search intent. So they actually met people. And the way that I look at it is like, we live in an era of interruption marketing. And what Nerd Wallet really did well is, they're kind of like that inbound. They use the inbound marketing. So it's like, when people are searching things and they type for things, Nerd Wallet meets you right where you want them to meet you, as opposed to, I'm on Instagram or scrolling or whatever, and I'm just a regular consumer product. I got to interrupt you and get your attention. Nothing wrong with it, but people don't realize how powerful of a tool Google is. Like, I put it like this: like, if someone took away my Instagram or TikTok or whatever, I'd probably miss it and whatever, but I'd be okay. If someone took away Google from me, I wouldn't know what to do. And like that moment for me was like, okay, I need to really figure out how to leverage like earned and owned media within this niche. And so with what you see now, we're actually getting ready to, I'm not happy with where our homepage is right now. We're getting ready to change it a little bit, but we're getting ready to, previously we had a newsletter that was going out tri-weekly. We're getting ready to simplify that into, what I really am looking to make the best and most valuable mental health and wellness newsletter you can get for free each week, once a week. On the site, we're going to revamp a lot of the content and some of the tools and stuff like that. But that business model for that, it's not necessarily your traditional media business model, because we really are going to continue to focus on that affiliate revenue with our product review engine and with some other things, really grow that by just being that right conduit for people that are looking for the right type of wellness solutions, and us being able to validate that for them, while at the same time still being able to cover all of the informational and idea and simply value-based content in the mental health and wellness ecosystem, and then, breaking that down within 7 dimensions. So affiliates, very important to us. Obviously the content sponsorship model, within our email newsletter and those types of things will be, very important. But again, we want to work with the right partners with that. Like, we're a newsletter and a list where people, they care about wellness, they care about mental health. So we don't want random partners to work with for content sponsorship. And that's why it's good to be, a content play, a solutions play, because we're able to partner with the telehealth companies. We're able to partner with, these other companies that do things that we don't exactly do. And then advertising is obviously at the bottom of that. That's kind of like, the last resort for the experience. But we have a mental health podcast that, has been growing, that I'm very excited about. And then we've actually done a lot. You don't see it consumer facing because it's more behind the curtain, but we've done some really cool stuff in content licensing. We have a huge, we have a 7-figure deal with a really, really big company that I can't talk about right now because it's, we just can't release the information, but it's within the mental and emotional wellness demographic. And we're making some incredible content, that will be distributed on, a really, really cool, platform for people that's different than our platform. So we've figured out ways to leverage our content creation system and our ethos and what we do in that way as well. And for the technology, similar to that, NerdWallet model, I've always had, and I've always known, the media and the content and the storytelling, that's how you build the audience. That's how you build the community. That's the top of funnel. That's how you make it sticky. But if we're going to really help people become 1% better each day, we need that technology in the form of an app that can really help people. And so what we're building now, what we've been building for the past like 5 or 6 months is that, and it's going to be our take on behavior change, our take on building habits that really stick, having those habits in that journey, have a really cool rewards-based infrastructure. There's some really cool ideas that we have with community and engagement and tools and other fun things, but also like a bevy of premium content and real ways to help people actually become 1% better. And, there's also an opportunity there, obviously, for the executive side. And we, have some things lined up there. But the way we look at it is like, if we can really help people in their bad habits, create good habits, and have those habits lead them to fulfillment and lead them, to their goals, then through that technology and through our community and our ecosystem, the statistic that we really built the business around that I've always been obsessed with is that like over like hundreds of billions of dollars are spent every year on trying to make people physically well and mentally well and all these things. And the year before, around 80% of those people still failed to reach their goals. And that's like a huge problem. And so we've just been trying to break that down. And obviously through the content and the community building and the authority, that's very important. But, we didn't want to come out with an app out the gate. We didn't just want to be a company that said, hey, we have an app. Now it's, we've done this we've been creating this content for 2 to 3 years. We have the team, we have some data and some understanding, we have some audience understanding. Here is where we think that we can really give you a solution that fits within the ecosystem that can truly help you become 1% better and help you break these huge goals down into actionable habits. So that's how we're looking at it, man. We're gonna continue to have that media engine that drives what we do. But the technology that we're creating and that we want to give people is what I think will be extremely scalable and how we're really going to be able to create a really, really big impact. And, we're doing some things in real life too. We're going to be creating like wellness centers with like a very, very, very big partner in the sports media space that I also can't really talk about, but that's going to kind of come to bear in 2024. So when that happens, that'll probably be our physical manifestation along with the media and technology side of the business. So that's like how we're looking at the future. And, future proofing it is important as well. I think there's a huge play and a huge opportunity with wellness and fitness and mental health in the metaverse, and, figuring out a way to leverage that and things of that nature. But we kind of want to focus on what's in front of us right now. But we're definitely thinking about how that can be integrated, because there's some cool ways that you can integrate fitness and wellness. Like some of the data we looked at, people actually love working out on the Oculus. It's weird. Like they love, like a lot of the stuff we looked at, like they're like, oh, like the workouts on here are great. And, so there's ways, but that's the high level, as far as the next, like, I would say 3 to 5 years.
Right. Well, I certainly, as somebody who started their digital journey in the SEO business in 1995 and did it in 1996 in the SEO category, I'm all in on that. Great content is a magnet that brings the people in with a high intent, right? And it's much easier to engage the people in taking the next step when they come in via search versus interruptive advertising. So I think you're dead on with that. I also really like the fact that when I look at your 7 dimensions of wellness, each of those dimensions has an entirely different set of potential sponsors and partners. Right? So what a coincidence!
Kevin, you're right on the money, but that's the beauty of it, because we're never going to run out of valuable content, because wellness is that umbrella, and it's a $4.7 trillion market, but it's like, when you really drill down on that in these unique specific areas, as you said, and we're not trying to necessarily compete with NerdWallet on some of our finance content. Financial wellness is different than what's the best credit card, right? Like, and that's a different. So there's ways, exactly to your point, that we can partner, create experiences, create co-branded content, all these other things within those unique dimensions. But all of those dimensions still come together to help you be your best you.
Right.
And so that's kind of the beauty of the positioning. And also, people ask me all the time, they're like, well, why didn't you focus on just men? Or why didn't you, everyone needs this stuff. Obviously, the sweet spot of our demographic is that 20 to 35. We're almost, if you look at our email list and traffic and all this, we're almost split down the middle, women to men. It's a little bit more men than women, but like not by much. But I truly believe that, what we're doing and what we're creating and the solutions that we're trying to give and bring, it's not a male or female or any other gender thing. I think it's a communication and a pain point thing. And I think a lot of people share the same pain points, and a lot of people are trying to get to the same place mentally, physically, emotionally, whatever it is. So if we can continue to build that community through a lot of these underlying things that I know to be true, then I think we'll be able to help a lot of people. And that's truly the goal of the business. That's what gets me up every day when it's hard as hell and there's tons of stuff to do and stuff fails and stuff doesn't go right and all that. We look at our mental health podcast, and I look at the YouTube comments, and, somebody tells us that the podcast saved their life and all that, like that. Even that one comment is enough to keep me going. You know what I mean? So.
Well, yeah. One thing that I really loved when I, learned about your business and your mission is that social impact element of it, right? So it's one thing. Has that been something that has resonated with your investors? Clearly, it resonates with yourself and the founding team, right? But to the extent that, and I don't know if you're even going out looking for investors or not, but if you are, like, is that social impact element of the pitch been front and center, like you can do well by doing good, right? Or has it really been more like it goes along for the ride?
It's funny that you say that, because we're finishing up a fundraise right now, and a lot of our investors that are on the cap table right now, and a lot of the investors that we've talked to, the common thread with that is the business. They're like, a lot of what you guys are doing, like, yeah, there's the model, like we like how you're positioning the model, we like how you're thinking about the technology. There's obviously some differentiation, like you can, disrupt and stuff like that. But the common thread is we love you guys doing this, right? And we love the mindset that you bring to it and the reason why you're doing it, because it, with our stories and why we're doing it, it truly makes it an impact business. And
Yeah.
so, when you think about differentiation, and that's the question, like, how are you different from other businesses? And a lot of my immediate answer, just coming from a place of humility, is always like, oh, we have a distribution deal that no other company our size in the niche has. We have these cool partners, we have a great team, we this and that, blah blah blah. And they're like, yeah, all that is great, but we think you guys are the difference. And that to me is going to be where the impact is. How we're able to continue to tell the story, how we're able to continue to help people, how we're able to liberate, people of color, entrepreneurs of color, how we're able to liberate men who usually aren't comfortable about being vulnerable about their mental health or wellness, and liberating them to speak up, to, join the community, to use the resources, to, feel like they're understood. To me, that type of stuff is going to make more impact than, having 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 million of top line revenue ever will, So we're grateful to get that feedback, because, in pitches, you're in the weeds. All I care about is like, okay, is the story tight? Are they really picking up what we're putting down? Do they really understand the mission? Like, financials got to be tight. Like that's what I'm thinking about. But everybody's like, we believe in this because it's, we believe in the leadership in what you guys stand for. And that's kind of like to me, it's kind of the holy grail when you're able to build a business that's kind of in line with what your personal ethos is.
Yeah.
Because it's not like I'm not like randomly building like a, MarTech company or something. Like, obviously I love marketing and strategy and stuff like that, but it makes me so happy being able to help people. I've always been like that. And so living in today's day and age and just seeing, the male suicide rate is almost 75%. Like there's so many statistics that I could just go through where it's like, oh my goodness, we're going through a crisis. And not just that, people are truly realizing that if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. It's like one of my favorite quotes is, the man that, is healthy wants 10,000 things, and the man that's sick only wants one thing. And I've been there. And, and until you're there, you don't really understand that. But when you get there, you really realize the value and the importance of holistic health of the mind, and of the body. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, I am super excited to watch you guys continue the journey. I think you congrats on your successes thus far. And, as an investor myself, not big investments, but smaller ones, you do bet on the team as much as you do on the concept, right? So you're dead on there. And so I'm super excited to see where you're going with it. I think you guys are onto something. And we are at a particular time in human evolution where we need to really start like getting back to the basics, right? Of full holistic health. And you guys are one of the ways of getting there. So congrats.
Thanks, Kevin. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, it's, just like in life and what we preach, it's really, it's one step at a time, one day at a time. It's like, you can't look at the whole staircase. You got to just focus on the first step. And that's the 1% thing. And it's also a values thing. It's like when you set your goals and you want to do things, you got to start from a place of, well, why do I want to do this? What is the value here for me? And making sure that that's framed in the right way. Because if you're trying to execute a goal or go after a goal and your why is wrong, then you're setting yourself up for failure. So, yeah, man, I really appreciate it. Having someone like you that's seen it, done it, been through it, it always feels good when someone sees what you're doing and they give you kudos on it. Cause I see everything wrong with it that I'm trying to fix and iterate. Like, I'm like, oh my God, Kevin didn't see our new homepage. Like, that's what I'm thinking about. Right. But
I'll get a chance to see it soon enough.
I'm excited about, I'm really excited about we're finishing up a fundraise right now. We're about, 75 or 80% complete with that. Really excited about, the investors and people that we have that are supporting us and excited, about the companies that we're working with, those that, are public, and then even ones that we can't mention. They believe in us and believe what we're doing. But again, it's just going to be this continuous thing of continuing to understand the consumer and, the problems that are getting in the way of them reaching their goals and how to really help them with that. So yeah, man, thanks for the time. Appreciate it.
Cool. My pleasure. It's been great having you on.
Awesome.
Kevin Lee's Power Marketing is available on all your favorite podcast networks. Kevin loves helping businesses excel at marketing. Having marketing challenges? Just like Santa in The Miracle on 34th Street, if Kevin can't help you, he'll know someone who can. Find him on LinkedIn, subscribe, or follow.